The Mediterranean, Mare Dolce, the gentle sea. For over 5,000 years, the highway in the heart of civilization. The gentle sea and the toughest battleground since the beginning of time. Italy.
The destruction of the Italian Empire was the first prize we could gain.
Malta.
I feared greatly for Malta. Since the days of Nelson, Malta has stood the faithful British sentinel guarding the vital sea corridor through the central Mediterranean.
Egypt and the Suez Canal. Gateway to India, Australia, New Zealand. Greece.
Our information at this time showed a rapid increase in the Italian forces in Albania, with a consequent menace to Greece.
Crete. Dominating the approaches to the British naval base at Alexandria. Our sea.
The Mediterranean. The Italians must not have it. For some time past, Mussolini had been steadily moving his forces eastward through Libya. An Italian army of 70 or 80,000 men had been patiently gathered. Before this army glittered the prize of Egypt.
To oppose this army, Britain has a small mechanized force of less than 10,000 men under command of General Wavell. The Isle of Britain, facing the threat of German invasion, can ill afford to reduce her home defense forces. Still,
we had not shrunk from lending half our tanks to General Wavell for the defense of Egypt.
Besides tanks, Wavell also needs more troops.
To send a division around the Cape to Egypt was to make sure it could not fight anywhere for 3 months.
The direct route is through the Mediterranean. Malta is the key, and Malta must be held. Until August, Malta's sole air defenses consist of 3 planes.
Known locally by the affectionate terms of faith, hope, and charity.
Now, only faith survives. 322 miles northeast of Malta lies the Italian naval base of Taranto. There, the entire Italian Navy stands poised to strike.
The strong Italian Air Force was also ranged against us. I told the First Sea Lord that anyone can see the risk from air attack which we run in the central Mediterranean. From time to time, this risk will have to be faced. Warships are meant to go under fire. Indeed, I hope that by running a few special convoys, we might provoke a trial of strength with the Italian fleet. I hoped that this might happen before the appearance, which I already dreaded, of the Germans in this theater.
night of November 11, 1940, Admiral Cunningham's naval aircraft attacked the Italian Navy in the harbor of Taranto.
For an hour, the battle raged amid fire and destruction. Half the Italian battle fleet was disabled. By this single stroke, the balance of naval power in the Mediterranean was decisively altered.
3 weeks later, British merchant ships make the complete passage of the Mediterranean to Egypt for the first time since Italy's entrance into the war. Churchill tells General Wavell,
"Another 30,000 men are reaching you by November 15.
As quickly as possible, General Wavell prepares the very first British offensive of the war.
It was decided to give all possible support to this splendid enterprise. Here was something worth doing. I purred like 6 cats. On December 6, our lean, bronze, desert-hardened and completely mechanized army of about 25,000 men leapt forward more than 40 miles. Next day lay motionless on the desert sand, unseen by the Italian Air Force.
At dawn, the Battle of Sidi Barrani begins.
At home in Downing Street, they brought me hour-to-hour signals from the battlefield. I remember being struck by a message from a young tank officer. "Have arrived at the 2nd B in Buck Buck." Coldstream Battalion signaled that it was impossible to count the prisoners, but that there were about 5 acres of officers and 200 acres of other ranks. By December 15, all enemy troops had been driven from Egypt. I thought it the moment to address the Italian people by broadcast. Italians, I will tell you the truth. One man, and one man alone, has arrayed the trustees and inheritors of ancient Rome upon the side of the ferocious pagan barbarians. Now a new figure sprang upon the world stage, a German warrior who strove immediately to enforce an offensive campaign. He was a splendid military gambler, a master in handling mobile formations. His ardor and daring inflicted grievous disasters upon us.
His name, General Erwin Rommel. October 1940. the Italian army in Albania invades Greece.
I responded to the Greek government's appeal. We will give you all the help in our power. We will fight a common foe, and we will share a united victory.
But British aid is not immediately needed. The valiant Greeks counterattack. Behind Italian lines in Albania lies Yugoslavia. Neutral thus far in the war between Italy and Greece, the role of the Yugoslavs now becomes paramount.
If the Yugoslavs fall on the Italian rear in Albania, there is no measuring what might happen in a few weeks. A sudden move could produce an Italian disaster of the first magnitude, possibly decisive on the whole Balkan situation.
This is exactly what Hitler fears most. He hands the Yugoslav government an ultimatum. A pact with Hitler or annihilation.
The streets of Belgrade were soon thronged with Serbs chanting, "Rather war than the pact, rather death than slavery." Hitler was stung to the quick. He had a burst of that convulsive anger which sometimes impelled him on his most dire adventures. Operation Punishment. From rooftop height, without fear of resistance, German bombers blasted the capital, Belgrade, without mercy. When silence came at last, over 17,000 citizens of Belgrade lay dead in the streets or under the debris.
And on the border, German troops are massed to strike at the heart of Greece. Churchill now fulfills his pledge of help.
We are sending the greater part of the army of the Nile to Greece.
In the early morning of April 6th, German armies invade Greece. In 3 weeks, they plow their way across the country.
I did not give up hope of a final stand at Thermopylae. We were now confronted with another of those evacuations by sea which we had endured at Dunkirk.
"25,000 sailed to Crete. Crete, that island where ancient kings had ruled the Mediterranean from the great palace of Knossos in the dawn of civilization. Here, the troops of the British Commonwealth now regroup and prepare for battle.
could be sure that German eyes were glaring upon Crete. We had known for a long time the efforts Goering had made to develop a powerful airborne force capable of a large-scale descent from the air.
The first wave of the German attack comes on the morning of May 20.
The German High Command seemed indifferent to losses. At least 100 planes were wrecked by crash landings.
The New Zealand troops put up an heroic resistance. They were reinforced by 2 units of commandos led by Sir Robert Laycock.
I was sitting with my headquarters on a small hill watching the Stuka dive bombers in formation knocking the blazes out of the next position. And I turned round to my liaison officer, Captain Evelyn Waugh, the author, and I said, you know, one can't help admiring the precision with which the Germans do things. They were peeling off, diving, releasing their bombs, and flying back to Scarpanto to re-ammunition. He turned round and remarked, rather aptly, yes, he said, but like everything Teutonic, it goes on far too long.
German troop carriers continued to arrive at a rate of more than 20 an hour. The Battle of Crete was unique. Nothing like it had ever been seen before. It was the first large airborne attack in the annals of war. $16,500 men were brought safely back across 350 miles of sea to Egypt.
A German officer reports, as regards the spirit and the morale of the British troops, it is worth mentioning that in spite of the many setbacks, there remains absolute confidence in Winston Churchill. Malta stands and Egypt stands. The troops of the British Commonwealth now stand facing Rommel's crack Africa Corps. Mussolini's dreams of a new Roman Empire are as remote as ever.
We must not lose our sense of proportion and thus become discouraged or alarmed. This war against the mechanized barbarians who slave-hearted themselves are fitted only to carry their curse to others. This war will be long and hard. But the end is sure. The end will reward all toil, all disappointments, all suffering in those who faithfully serve the cause of freedom. A new day will dawn. The Mediterranean, they shall never have it.